everyone. If you're new here, my name is Jamie and I post videos every Sunday. Now, every new year, I have a resolution to read at least 12 books in the year. So it always seems manageable, one book a month. Depending on the year, my progress really differs. Sometimes I hit the double digits and I'm close to the 12, but not quite. Last year, I didn't do so well and I read only around 5 books. Now, this year has been really different. I've read 20 books so far, and it's October. Because it's been such a shift going from 5 last year to 20 this year, I wanted to share some of my tips and some advice if you're looking to incorporate reading into your daily routine. One of the reasons why I really encourage reading is that it is a very budget-friendly activity because you can literally just borrow all the books from your local library. That is 100% what I do. Even though now I have my Kobo and my e-reader, even though there was that cost, I borrow all my ebooks from the library through the Libby app. Okay, it is so convenient. And before I had the Kobo, I was just borrowing books from my local library or I was borrowing books from my friends. I would rarely spend money on books. And if I buy books, it's only to add it to my collection because I really, really love them. But anyway, I feel like in this economy, if you're looking for a new hobby, I feel like reading is a great one because you don't have to spend any money on it. I think a big tip is to actually read the books that excite you and the books that you're curious about rather than the books that you feel like you should be reading. In recent years, I was pretty much only reading nonfiction books, a lot of self-help, personal development books, and although they were very helpful and I loved a lot of the books that I read, I found I was quite fatigued by some of the self-help content, and particularly when I used to try to read before bed. I think after you have a long day at work, sometimes you just don't want to unwind with a self-help book. It's just not the vibe. Now this year, I feel like I've had so much more of a balance between fiction and non-fiction books, and it's been really nice to read a lot of fiction books that I wouldn't have picked up. I've been exploring new genres that I wouldn't typically go for. So for example, in a previous year, I read Verity by Colleen Hoover, and it's so different from her other books. It's more of a thriller book and it's quite dark. I found myself so consumed by that story and I was like, hey, maybe I actually gravitate more to the thriller books. So I leaned into it, and then that spurred me to read the Housemaid series, which I absolutely adored. And again, I flew through those books. And when you find books that you fly through, I feel like it really helps you build that reading habit. Another genre that I picked up that I wasn't expecting was fantasy. I don't think I've read fantasy since around high school, and it's been so nice to get back into it. It's just so different, and the escapism that it brings is unparalleled. I am making my way through the ACOTAR series. I really love the series so far. I'm currently on book 3 of the series, and I'm excited to read more fantasy. My point is to really mix up the genres and just lean into the books that will actually excite you and make you look forward to reading your book. I know a lot of people might look down on fiction books because obviously with non-fiction books, you are learning a lot, you're expanding your knowledge, but I also feel like reading fiction has so many benefits. I think it really boosts your creativity and imagination and helps you build stronger empathy and perspective, which I really value. I think reading fiction, you're literally put in someone else's shoes and you become more open-minded and you are able to think from different perspectives. I think in this day and age, being open-minded and being able to see people's different perspectives is really important. To make sure you're never in a reading rut where you don't know what to read, I definitely recommend just keeping like a note in your phone of books to read. I add to my list whenever a friend recommends me a book or when I see a lot of hype about a book on social media, I add it to my list. Or you can find a list that you can just work your way through. For example, I think Goodreads have like a top 100 list of this year so far, or the 2024 top books. I feel like there are so many lists of recommendations that you can pull from. I rated the books I've read so far this year on Instagram, which might help you. So I'll just pop up on the screen a screenshot of my 5-star and 4-star books that I've read so far this year. I think to start building a reading habit, I think you should definitely start small and just aim for consistency. I know some people might try to read an hour before bed. Personally, I would find that kind of goal a little bit daunting because I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to carve out that hour, get into bed early so I can read my book. And an hour hour also seems like quite a long time. So what I like to do is actually break up my reading throughout the day. So when I go into the office, I use my commute. So I read on the bus on the way to work and also on the way home. And sometimes during lunch, I also like to read my book. I find having, like, let's say 20 minutes in the morning, let's say 15 minutes at lunch, 20 minutes in the afternoon. I prefer taking that approach where I squeeze in reading throughout different parts of my day rather than having a chunk at the end of the day. When you think about where you want to squeeze in your reading throughout the day, you might be thinking about your existing habits. So if you can stack reading on top of anything that you're currently doing, or you can think about other habits that you might want to replace. So I think about doom scrolling. Am I spending too much time on my phone, let's say on the bus? Am I spending too much time on my phone before I'm going to bed? And I can think of those times and replace reading instead of spending more time on my phone. So existing habits that you might want to stack reading on. Let's say if you drink coffee in the morning, you might want to drink coffee while reading a few pages of your book. If it helps you to have a bit of a numerical goal, I feel like take it really easy on yourself. You don't want to overwhelm yourself by being like, okay, I'm going to read 3 chapters of my book every day. And when you don't hit that goal, it can be quite discouraging. You might want to aim for 20 pages a day, because I find some of the time, even if you have that goal, if you're actually enjoying the book, you're not going to be thinking about that goal and you end up reading a lot more. I think replacing my phone scrolling time with reading time has been a big game changer for me. I have put on screen time limits for all my social media apps. I've had screen time limits for a long time, but when the notification would pop up, I would just click like ignore limit for the day. So what's the point? But this time I actually got my husband key to put on the little code so I can't unlock it. So once I hit my limit, I'm done for the day. That sounds extreme, but I just really wanted to get on top of my doom scrolling habit, and I feel like that has been a huge game changer for me. So when I've hit my screen limits, it's just another nudge for me to do something else besides spending time on my phone and to pick up the book that I'm reading. So if you have a gentle goal, let's say it's 12 books a year or 10 pages a day, whatever it is, I think it's always great to track the progress against your goals, or just track the books that you're reading, and you can also see which books that you've been enjoying. So I know some people have a Goodreads account. I'm honestly not at that level. I just have a notes app on my phone that I keep, and I just separate the notes out by months, and I just keep track of what books I've read in that month, and I give a little star rating out of 5 so I can look back and see the books that I really enjoyed and books that I didn't love. I do find it motivating. I love a list. I'm always recording things, and I do find it satisfying every time I finish reading a book and I add it to my little note. I also share my book progress on my Instagram. I have an Instagram story highlight where I record all the books that I've read that year. Not only is it another way for me to track progress, but I love getting into book chats with people in my DMs. So after I post a story about a book, a lot of people would be like, oh my God, I read that book. I also hated it, or I also loved it. It's also just nice to find a little book community. Speaking of book communities, another way to get back into reading is to join a book club, or you can start a book club. I've been in book clubs in the past with my friends, and they were really lovely. And I used to be the one who would like organize the polls of what the next book is, when the next meetup is, etc. So it's a really nice way to have a little social element, and it's also very motivating, feeling like you have to finish the book before the next catch up. If you live in Perth, there's actually a wine bar called Powell's, I'm pretty sure, and I follow them on Instagram, but they do a monthly book club. So there's a book club pick, and I know a lot of people go to those events and talk about books. People either go with their friends, or a lot of people I've heard go solo. I have a friend who goes along, and I've been really curious to go as well. If you don't already have a book club, you might want to search up if there's something similar that's going on in your city. And I feel like sometimes when people think about book clubs, they naturally gravitate to thinking like it's a big group, but I really don't think a book club has to be many people at all. I feel like I have an unofficial one with my friend Tiffany, and it's just the 2 of us, but we work through basically the same list and we read a lot of the same books, so we're always debriefing on what we're reading, and it's really lovely and it's motivating. Now, one of my biggest tips is to always carry a book with you, whether it's a physical book or a little e-reader like this. This is my beloved Kobo. I am always carrying this around with me, and of course, it is so convenient that it is tiny and so lightweight. I don't know if you watched my best purchases video, but I raved and raved about how much I freaking love this thing. Now, I'm not going to recommend that you buy an e-reader to get into a reading habit, because honestly, I told myself that I would only go down the e-reader route if I had already built the reading habit and the reading commitment before I got the ebook, because I really didn't want to have this just go to waste. I just love how convenient it is, especially for thick books like the fantasy books that I've been reading, like the ACOTAR one that I'm reading so far. It is like 1,000 pages, so I would absolutely hate carrying that with me on my commute, and it's just so nice to have this with me at all times. The battery power is also amazing. I love my Kobo, and I'm just going to link my best purchases video in case you want to watch it. I always carry it with me because I feel like there are so many micro moments where I could be just scrolling on my phone. For example, if I'm in a doctor's waiting room, if I'm waiting in the queue for something, all of those moments where I otherwise might be just scrolling on my phone, it's always nice to just have the option to take out my book and get to reading. Another tip I have to get back into reading is to really make it an experience when you read. Okay, what I mean by this is, especially when I'm home, I love to create like a really cozy atmosphere. I've got a go-to playlist that I put on, which is more of like the classical vibe with no vocals, because I cannot read when there's lyrics in the background, absolutely not. And I also like set up a candle. It's just a whole vibe, and I just love how cozy it is. And I'm like, this is my winding down, relaxing reading time. That is a wrap on the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really supports my small channel. If you want more book-related content, please let me know in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!